Welcome to my video submission for the mail server assignment. I'm just going to be going over a bunch of things here really quick and try not to waste time. So this is my email server with an 87 IP. In my DNS server, I've got my MX records for mail.amon.com with the mail in there. Um, and I've got two test users, Matt and Aiden. I've got them both hooked up to Thunderbird, and I'm just going to go through a bunch of changes that I've done that you need to see. So here I set the host name and domain that's going to be used in destination and throughout with postfix. Down here in postfix, I had to set um, the init inet interfaces of protocol stuff and the content filter for Amavis to use. There's one down here where I had to set the mail directory all the way down here, past there. There we go. Home mailbox is the mail dir. I don't believe I changed anything else down here. Don't think so. And then I'll show the master config, which this is to allow Amavis to actually listen and work. That took quite a while to get that working because I spent a bunch of time troubleshooting when I just had forgot to specify this IP. So it wasn't even listening on port 25. Down here, I've got the Amavis Unix SMTP stuff, and this is a few things had to be added here. So permitting my networks and rejecting others, and my network being there. Um, yeah, so we'll just go ahead and send some tests with telnet. So I'll show the output of the LO. You can see it has start TLS there. I'm going to mail from my test user Aiden to Matt. With data, this is a test dot and quit. And then after about 10 seconds-ish, it should appear in Matt's email inbox. Um, it is a little slow sometimes, which I don't know. But there you go. You see this test pop up. I can view the source, and there's a bunch of statistics here. It is scanned by Mavis. It does get a spam score. I set it down to only require 2. Um, I'll check on that later. So I can also do it with an echo command with the mail. It does give some warnings that it's not identical to root. The R makes it send as not just the root user. And then we can see down here, it should appear in, there we go. That one appears there. View the source there. It shows very similar stuff. I can also use swax, which is another one. I have to come back to that. I'll show the mail directory from both of those for Aiden Madsen, and I can change that to Matt Wells. And anyway, if I go to Aiden's new directory, if I ls, there's nothing in there right now. But if I send to Aiden Madsen, this will just be a test 1. I'm going to send it, and I'm going to close Thunderbird, and I'm going to list again. Should have gone into the mail queue, but there it is there. It just took a sec. So since it got delivered, which took 10 seconds-ish, this is now that mail sitting in the new inbox in the mail directory. The reason I closed Thunderbird is because once Thunderbird syncs that it has seen the email, it moves from new to current. I guess Matt doesn't have an inbox up here because I hadn't sent him anything yet, but if I do less and then that, you can see test one in that email with all the information here, and it is sent using TLS version 1.3 there when I sent through Thunderbird. And if I open Thunderbird again, we'll see that test is here. Yep, and I can tail the mail log. I'm just going to clear that. The mail log, you can see 116 is my workstation and 87 is the mail server. You can see the login there with plain, which I'll show after, but it uses, there's multiple IDs that get used, like a Mavis has its own IDs, Dovecot has its own IDs, and it tells the programs how to use the message, or it keeps track of the message. I don't know really the best way to explain it. It just makes sure everything's unique and knows what it's using. And the post queue, I can show that. So this is the mail queue. So I guess these are the SWOX ones that are getting stuck, I believe. But if I send a new mail just to Matt Wells, queue test, test, and then I open that, and this should, in a moment, if I refresh that, you can see that new request has gotten added while it is currently in the queue sending. So if I'll just give it a moment, the email goes through, and then I'll refresh the post queue. You see it properly went through. I'm not getting the queue test that I just showed. And actually, this was the command I wanted to use because it actually shows it in real time. If I just send another one quickly to Aiden, test, test, a lot of just testing. And then I go here, it live updates because this is updating as it goes. As it goes through the queue, it will disappear from the queue. It just takes about 10 seconds. And there we go, it updated and did that again. So then I don't know Dovecot. I can clear that off and I'll start showing the configs. So had to set this to use submission and the other protocols. And I don't think there was much more in that one. This one, mail directory, I have to show where that actually is in the home user directory. I don't believe there's anything down below. Everything else was just defaults in this one. Yep. The authentication, I believe, all the way down here, I had to add login, so it was not just plain, because it wouldn't actually let me. It was an issue trying to get into Roundcube. So I added that. The certificates, which are self-signed, which will give errors later, I just set the TLS into a mail folder that just has the mail key and the mail PEM and SSL being on. I don't think I changed that cipher line. And the listeners in the master config, which I forget what I actually had to comment out. It was something with 587, which I did have working for a little while, but I ended up turning it off because it caused a issue when I was doing SMTP. But it might not have actually been the issue. That was the IP that I missed putting in the other config file, the 127.0.0.1. But all of these other things are basically just defaults. I don't believe I had to change anything else there. And the aliases, all the way down at the bottom of the alias, I made an admins group which has Aiden and Matt in it. If I go here and I'll echo with just a command, a mail to the admin alias from TCP dump. If I go and just send to Matt, another test. And if I go down here, you see all the handshakes happening with all the flags. It's going through all that just between each of those on 587. And then it will um, deliver in just a moment. It takes a while for some reason, unless it's not going to go through for some reason, which would be quite frustrating if all of this broke since yesterday. Um, this is why I should record videos the day I set things up. Um, okay, well, TCP dump shows it sending, if only it got there. And the cert, um, it's going to give some little errors here and there. Um, but the important stuff is it's using my um, mail.amod.com and it's giving it to them. Um, yeah, it does show a lot the TLS version 1.3, which is in the source of one of those emails I showed earlier. And I will show the threshold for spam now, which is in this. If I just scroll down here, I set the spam filter as 2. I believe by default it's something like 6 or something, just so I can actually demonstrate that. So we'll send a spammy email so it trips the filter. Pills, buy now, please, great deal. I'll send an email now. Pills, buy now, great deal, get rich quick, and send that. And in a moment, it should appear in the inbox. There we go, but it didn't get marked as spam because I didn't make it spammy enough. So we're going to go with the better option. As spam does. Usually you'd think Matt would be sending that email. There we go. You can see it is marked as spam there. If I go to the source, you see it got a 3.9 for the spam score. Yeah, and then clam stuff here. I'll just show the status of both of these. I didn't really use clam after getting a Mavis, I don't know how to say it, set up. But it's here. I can set it to manually update and it'll go through and do all this stuff. And then it'll update there. And then I can just restart Spam Assassin. I mean, yeah. And then I will try and send an email with this iCard test just to show that that also will get blocked. So just the iCar string in there, sending to Aiden, and it shouldn't even get to him because it's going to be blocked by, it's going to be blocked by, don't know why it's not copying this. As we can see here, it was blocked infected for the iCar signature, so it doesn't even get to the inbox. It just gets removed. Yeah, the Open Relay has some stuff down here for the restricted networks, my networks, and then I think these commands just all will show the post config there for those. So it doesn't send any emails that aren't in the restrictions um, for my network and my amod.com uh, thing. I don't know how to describe that too much better. And then I'm going to go to a new private browser here for the roundcube. So mail.amod.com/roundcubemail, which was the thing I set there, and it is HTTPS. So I'll log in as Aiden Madsen, log in there, and we can see my inbox. We can see roundcube is here. And the start TLS, I already showed these actually. And the LO for the start TLS. I can show the SSL config again, which is just where those two things are. The plain login, which is way down here to actually let it work for the authentication. The listeners in the master config there, it's just 141, 143, and that's kind of it there. I can show that it is actually listening on all of these ports, and the connections here for that being proper there, and I guess for the 1.8 or the 5.8.7, sorry, it also works there. And for Wireshark, I'll just go in there. I will set a filter on specifically those things. I'll just go to Thunderbird because I know it's working. Test, another test, and then if I go back to Wireshark now, you can see that it is getting picked up there. Yeah, I will have to make sure that I go back and fix all these things that aren't getting through, specifically the SWOX, the round cube, and pretty sure that was what wasn't working. I showed the new, I showed the queue, I showed dovecot, and the admin. Okay, so I'm going to do a little cut and I'll fix that, get it working, and do those few tests. Okay, I found the issue that was probably causing all of my problems. My mail server had reset the name servers it was using uh, to the ITAS ones on restart of the VM. So now I've cleared my inbox again, just so you know, nothing here has been left around. So we're gonna go and send one to Matt Wells, roundcube test, roundcube test, send that, message sent successfully. And if I log out and I log into Matt Wells and log in here, there's gonna be nothing. But if I just give it a moment, keep refreshing the mailbox. There we go. Roundcube test does successfully make it here. It can go both ways. I'll do one to aidmadsen@amod.com. Image test, and I'll attach that screenshot from before just to show it can also do attached files. So now if I log out of Matt and go Aiden Madsen back in here, I log in here, it's going to be empty for a moment because it takes a sec to refresh again. And the image test is there. You can see the screenshot sent successfully. The other one, and we're going to go back and test some of these other commands that and the admin alias works. Finally, I realized I had other problems and just did another little cut there because I had been trying to send uh, emails from the DNS server because I didn't realize I had tabbed back over. That's why I've just emptied my inbox again because I was troubleshooting that, but I didn't need to. Um, Swax, that's one that didn't work, which hopefully now that my DNS server is actually working properly, hopefully it works. And I have finished the final cut. Um, Spox wasn't talking to postfix, I guess. I just restarted postfix and sent the Swax messages again. And I don't know why everything's saying it's coming at 12:11 because I think my VM's internal clock is wrong because this also says it's yesterday. Um, but yeah, this is test mailing from there to there. Um, yeah, yeah, it is using the wrong user. It's using the Aiden user instead of Aiden Madsen. Um, but I think that's just because the Aiden user is one of it's just the user I made at the start. But I don't know why Swax defaults to that. And then it's tested, it's sent, and I think that's all of these that I missed. So yeah, postfix stuff got all these things I installed to actually get this to work. The two users, I went over this, I went over that. Um, did the test with that. The Swax works now. Showed the mail there, showed the new well after I closed it. Showed the mail log and the post queue and the IDs and the live post queue. Showed all my dovecot changes. The admins works now. TCP dump worked. Showed the certs. Mavis showed Clam, even though Mavis kind of does everything that Clam needs to do. I don't know if it's really, yeah. iCard test worked, didn't get through. The spam marks worked. The relay works, doesn't send outside. The round cube did work after I fixed my DNS. And oh, I almost missed showing the actual cert. So obviously I didn't get it secure, but the certificate, here we are with mail.amod.com common name. I just put random other stuff there, but there's a cert. Almost forgot that. Um, and the IMAP config for start TLS. Yes, I have to the account settings and server settings using 143 start TLS and a certificate exception for mail.com works or exists, I should say. It also worked. Um, and then the I already showed those. I showed the start TLS when I did telnet hello. I'll just do it again. Mail.amod.com. And you can see start TLS is there as well. Um, I think I already showed these again, showed the listener, showed both of those, and I showed Wireshark. I'll just do one more mail to Matt, SSL, just to make sure I've shown the TLS in the actual email source because that is important. There's the SSL email. If I go to more and I go to view source, where is it? Using TLS with Cypher and all this other lovely information. But that was a bit of a rough video to shoot just because my DNS server rebooted and I guess I didn't have that working, which uh, just means I should have shot my video when I had actually gone through and run everything and not let everything restart overnight. Um, Sorry for a little bit of a jumble of patched together clips. Um, yeah, thanks for your time, Graham.